therefore, what we have to do with young people like that is take them out, give them basketballs and burgers and babes, and then we'll get them all. And then once they get the basketballs, the burgers, and the babes, then they'll grow up, they'll be strong and tough Christians, and then they'll all start coming to the evening service. Bunk! Bunk! Because many of their parents don't come to the evening service to start with. They've already capitulated to it. If we think that we're going to instruct people the Sesame Street way, from preschool to postdoctoral thesis, then we'll live with the implications of all these dumb puppets. Because the theory was that if you have the 1, 2, ABC, then the people will start to love education. And then once they leave the puppets behind, then they'll love it when they go post-puppet. But they don't. They don't go post-puppet. Because the only way they know to get educated is entertainment education. So now we entertain them from the age of 4 to the age of 7. Now the teacher's got a real problem because she ain't got no puppets. So she better go get some puppets because she'll never keep them in there. Now we got the junior hires. Well, they can't listen, so we get more puppets and bigger puppets. And then the senior show goes on. Then you get a congregation like this. Congregation that don't know, I don't mean this congregation, but I don't mean this congregation. Seriously. What I mean is, if you start with that group and you capitulate to that into adulthood, then you'll have a congregation of adults that don't have any notion in the world about thinking or reasoning or anything else. So the notion of them listening attentively is an interesting one. Well, that's exactly what they did. Now, the young and old were always involved like this in the reading of the law. Deuteronomy chapter 31. Let me read it for you. Deuteronomy 31, Moses wrote down the law, and he commanded the elders of Israel at the end of every 7 years to do this. Deuteronomy 31:11. When all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose, you shall read this law before them in their hearing. Now, this is what you're to do, he says. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the aliens living in your towns. Why? So they can listen and learn. Learn what? Learn to fear the Lord your God and follow carefully all the words of this law. Their children who do not know this law must hear it and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. The other evening at a little hospitality time here in the fellowship hall on a Friday evening, a young girl asked my wife what she thought of the new approach to spelling. Caught her a little off guard. She said, "What is the new approach to spelling?" The girl said, "Well, the new approach to spelling is that you can spell any way you want, any time you want. And what you do is the child just spells, and then the teacher looks at it and says, 'Oh, isn't that nice, honey? Is that how you think it's spelled?' And the child says, "Mm-hmm." And the teacher says, "Well, that's nice. I'm glad you like to spell that way. And you just go ahead and spell that way for a little longer." And then, so now they're going on in this way, and they're spelling things with PHs and Fs and everything else. Fish spelled PHISH and all sorts of things. And somehow or another, miraculously, around the age of 7 and 8, I'm told, this all kicks in, and it all starts to work for you, and you leave off the phonetic stuff, and you start to, you leave the phonetic and move to the pathetic, because it's not going to happen. And there is a whole approach, you see, to education, which is, if you suggest to people that the way you learn is you learn things off by heart. And I know I'll get letters from educators like crazy, but I'm into it now. If you learn things off by heart, you're not really learning. If you experience them, you're learning. So you see, when you bring this mentality of education into a church context, and somebody says, this is what the Bible says, this is what the Bible means, and this is the implication, the natural reaction is, I don't like that stuff. That's not what I'm used to. I'm used to just assimilating things at my own level, in my own way. If I want to spell, I spell. If I want to add, I add. If I want to do what I want to do, I do it. But there's no suggestion of that in the reading of the law. Read the law of God, says Moses, so that they may listen and they may learn to fear God. Takes us into another whole department. And despite the length of time involved back in Nehemiah 8, they did just that. From early in the morning until the middle of the day. Their attentive listening was an indication of what was going on. Now, for a realistic experience of preaching to take place, loved ones, for it to be something more than just a knowledgeable fellow banging up against a box, two things are involved. The congregation has to come prayerfully expectant, and whoever has the privilege of teaching has also to come prayerfully.